Hi everyone, it's Ryan with SacramentoAppraisalBlog.com, and today I wanted to talk about 10 things to know about low housing inventory. It's really easy for us to talk about inventory being low, but let's get very specific and look at 10 things that help tell us about the market, and we can convey these things to friends or clients or whoever. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, but let's go along for the ride. Number one, housing inventory is clearly on a declining trend. Okay, no matter how we look at it, we see inventory increasing from 2013 to 15, and then just it's been declining for a number of years. And we all know that, anyone who works in real estate and especially buyers. Number two, housing supply is really sparse except at the top. Okay, so we see anything under 500,000 has inventory at 1 month or less. And what that basically means is that there's a 1 month supply of houses for sale on the market. In other words, it would take 1 month to sell everything that's on the market. For reference, I think that the market could easily handle about 2.5 months or maybe slightly more of houses for sale. And so there's definitely more demand than there is inventory. But you do see that there's actually more inventory the higher the price you go. And this is actually a normal trend in real estate, so don't freak out about that. But it's good to know if you are in the $1 million market or some of the upward price ranges, well, then you're in luck. Three, inventory is still not as low as the Blackstone days. If you didn't know, during 2012, 2013, investors and the investment fund Blackstone was buying in the Sacramento market. And so housing supply or inventory was at 1 month for about an entire year. Okay, that created intense competition among buyers. It feels very similar or starting to feel similar because it's at 1 month right now, but really we haven't had a very prolonged sense of that. Now, if that does exist again, then I think that's going to create more of a steroid in the market, and it's going to make things even more aggressive. But we have to realize that so far it has not been what we saw in in those previous years. Number four, inventory was 1,400% higher 10 years ago during the real estate bubble. How the market has changed in 10 years. Isn't that amazing? Five, bank-owned inventory is not a driving factor today. Okay, we used to have in 2009 about 70% plus of all sales were bank-owned, and now that number's really been hovering around 3%. Short sales have really been about between 2 and 3% also. Some people promise a foreclosure wave is coming in the future, but the thing is that wave definitely is not here right now. Number six, low inventory is putting pressure on values to increase. Here's the median price since 2013, and you see the seasonal dynamic up, and then values soften in the fall, up in the spring, soften in the fall, and so on. And you begin to see that happen here. And so we'd say that the trend has been one of increasing, and one of the reasons why values have been increasing is because of low inventory. That's simply putting pressure on values to rise. Number seven, strong demand is actually a huge reason why inventory is declining. Okay, no matter how we look at it, the price metrics over the past few years, they're up. Okay, so if we look at the average sales price in green, you see the seasonal element, and it's definitely up. You look at the median price in blue, same thing. Or you look at the average price per square foot in red, we see that the metrics are also up. Okay, now uh, there's some reasons why inventory is low. We've had less new construction, basically 10 years of anemic construction. We've had investors gutted the market. The home ownership rate in California has actually declined. And so there's simply less houses hitting the market because they're being rented. But on the positive side, we have to admit that strong demand is actually a reason why inventory is declining, because there's more buyers who are hungry to play the market and who are attempting to purchase homes. All right, so let's realize that. I think that's an important piece of conversation to have. Number eight, increasing sales volume is one reason for lower inventory. If we look at sales volume over the past quarters, the first quarter of the year, over the past few years, you see that volume has been increasing. All right, and so this is in a small positive way one of the reasons why inventory inventory is lower. Now, we haven't had incredible increases in volume, so this really isn't the driving factor. Okay, we look back and think, well, no, it's really investors, it's really less new construction, and maybe the economy, some other reasons, but this is definitely a contributing factor. Number 9, low interest rates have helped take homes off the market. Here's when the real estate bubble burst, and you could see the Fed deliberately lowering rates. And guess what? As soon as the market began to turn around, rates got below 4% for the very first time. Mistake? Well, I'll let you guess. And so here we've had the past 5 years where interest rates have hovered between 3.5% and 4%. And so you have a whole host of homeowners who are now sitting on their properties and they really don't have much incentive to sell because they are sitting on an incredibly low mortgage payment. Okay, what would their replacement house be right now too? They have to consider that. And so you have a lot of owners who simply aren't going to sell, and you have some owners too who aren't being driven by the economy to sell either, where they are not having job opportunities or where they're not having economic growth or wage growth. And so further, they're just going to sit unless they sense that if the market was turning, the stats began to go down, then you would likely see a flood of listings on the market. Last but not least, number 10, low inventory is causing homes to sell faster. Okay, here's cumulative days on market over the past 3 years. Let's look at March 2017, and if we compare it to March 2016, it took 5 less days to sell this year. Okay, so as inventory declines, you see it makes a difference in the market being a little more aggressive. If we look at March 2015, it was taking 15 days longer to sell compared to this year. That's 2 weeks. And so one of the byproducts of low inventory is that it's creating a more aggressive and more competitive feel out there in the market. So I hope that was helpful, informative. I had fun. I hope you did too. If you liked it, give it a thumbs up. But comment below. Would love to hear your take. Thanks so much.